All right, welcome to the Dales Report. And today I'm happy to be joined with the Chief Revenue Officer of American Air's Josh Bruni to the show. Josh, how are things?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. Excited to chat.
Yeah. You're based in the US. I know we talked a little bit off camera, but Texas, correct?
Yes, Austin.
Not a Cowboys fan. Austin, that's the hottest real estate market in North America right now, is it not?
Yeah, both grateful for that, but also like it's crazy.
Yeah.
So there's a lot happening here, but it's a good place to be right now, for sure.
Yeah. Joe Rogan just moved there, left California. I think everybody's leaving California, aren't they? So
yeah.
Anyway, wanted to have you on it. We've had some good feedback in the first two interviews. We last time we'd spoke with the CEO, Dimitri. We focused a lot of the discussion around the harmful effects of electromagnetic radiation, otherwise known as EMR, that continues to intensify the environment as the Internet of Things and 5G network keeps expanding. But wanted to have you on because we want to focus on your sales momentum as more people become aware of its potential dangers. So first off, are there any statistics to indicate that awareness of the potential dangers of EMR is rising among consumers?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And, I definitely am looking at lots of different signals. And probably the first place that I would start when I'm considering all the different inputs and signals to really understand that would just be our own web traffic, and specifically the organic traffic that we have. And the actual data point is year over year. We're up 40% in the US for organic traffic. And there's actually more to that, which is, we had some technology changes a year ago, which typically doesn't help you with SEO and in organic traffic. And so the fact that we're still up 40% indicates that people are curious, at least looking around, exploring. And in addition to that, I would layer in just search engine traffic in general. When we're able to track the different queries and keywords and things like that around our market and our category, and you are seeing a growing interest and impressions are increasing for the number of queries that are occurring. Are
there specific areas in the US that you tend, or you shouldn't say US, but across the world that you're seeing more traffic driven, or is it just spread out evenly throughout the world?
The answer is yes. And a lot of it, I would say it this way. You're able to identify the peaks pretty well because it's not a big conversation happening everywhere at one time. So any big push, you're going to see a spike in traffic. For example, all of 2020, there was a lot of conversation around 5G and during the election, and there was all kinds of swirl happening around 5G and EMF then, and you saw massive peaks at that point, which increased just general awareness. And we haven't seen that really tail off as much as I would have expected. It's actually continued to maintain. Now, when you look in other countries, though, most other countries, specifically like France, for example, they have just so much more research and so much more history around this topic.
Interesting.
That more regulation is happening there, and you're seeing it in the news. It's part of their everyday dialogue. Yeah. Versus in the US or even let's say Canada, it's just not part of our everyday dialogue yet. It's a big opportunity. Moving that direction.
Yeah, because you're the only publicly traded company in the space. And if you think outside of just here in North America, it's a lot more advanced from your feedback, correct?
100%. Yeah. And like I said, you're seeing Wi-Fi being banned in schools pretty much in most European countries, specifically because of EMF and EMR. Wow. And so you're seeing that in pockets in the US. There's some places in San Francisco and in New York and in some of these different markets where you're seeing schools at the school level or at the district level, actually, take some steps. But in the other countries, you're seeing countrywide or citywide or just larger geographical areas regulating this. And so with that, you're seeing more awareness within the markets, and the consumers are asking more questions there.
Well, interesting, because in our previous conversation, Dimitri indicated that American Airlines is striving to get another 400% growth this year compared to the previous year when it comes to sales. So recently you opened up a new warehouse in California to help achieve this goal. So what other pieces in your supply chain and marketing are you putting into place to ensure that your lofty sales targets are obviously met?
Yeah, the one advantage we have with supply chain, and maybe I look at an advantage because of my background with doing a lot with food and beverage in the past and supplements that all have a shelf life. We don't really have a shelf life. So our ability to move product around at smallest lightweight really actually helps us. So if we want to open up another one in the center of the US, another distribution center, it's actually really easy because our product is light and small. And if we want to ship overseas, it's light and small, and that's easy to do and inexpensive to do. So our ability to reach consumers and get product there is affordable.
Right.
So that's one really nice thing.
Okay.
But in addition to that, one thing that we're really pushing for right now and actively, working on is actually opening up the European market in potentially parts of UK and Scandinavian countries, because our product's actually made there. And so the fact that we have to ship it to the US, warehouse it in the US, and a large percent of our sales are actually happening in these countries, and then ship it back there, that's a tremendous opportunity. So, we're actively looking, okay, which markets do we want to focus on? We have a lot of traction already in quite a few countries where we're already transacting sales, and the product is shipping from the US back to Europe. So if setting up that distribution in Europe will actually be fairly simple, because we're already there. Now the rest of it, the marketing side of it and the other pieces of it are slightly more complicated with tackling that, but that's stuff that we're working on right now. From a marketing standpoint, there's I would say, let's talk about the US specifically. The thing that I'm really excited about there is where the conversations are taking place today around EMR and the potential, harmful effects of chronic exposure are really well aligned with, I would say, thought leaders that are thinking about biohacking and human optimization and performance. So areas like sleep and cognitive function and even fertility is a big category.
Absolutely.
And so shifting our message and tailoring our message and targeting that message specifically to those areas versus that broader message of EMRs are just harmful and that bigger message that everyone hears, but specifically, finding our way into those conversations that are already occurring around taking your electronics out of your bedroom, shutting off your Wi-Fi at night. There's a lot of conversation around babies, and so but everyone wants a baby monitor. So, so that's what I'm really excited about. It is understanding those different markets, tailoring our message, delivering that message to the right person at the right time, and just really kind of testing and figuring out all those different personas that we want to speak to, and that our product really does speak to.
Yeah, you think about taking no one's going to do that, at the end of the day. And I think that in itself creates more of a bigger opportunity. So as you establish yourself in other countries, that's a lot more advanced. Walk me through day to day, like when you're speaking to people. Dimitri's spoken very highly about you as far as the revenue that's being produced. So what is some of the feedback that people like, and what are you learning, I guess, to I guess the common denominator is obviously the growth strategy for this upcoming year. What you're experiencing when you're talking to consumers across the world.
I'm a consumer first of the product. I was attracted to this company because of the product and its alignment with embracing technology and not fighting technology. And I think where a lot of people in this conversation, whether they're scientists or politicians or people with a product, where I struggle with that was its technology is bad. We're running away from technology. We're hiding from technology. We're trying to slow technology down because of this. What's really exciting, what really attracted me to this company was I want to run towards technology. I've been in the technology game for
long time.
20 years. Yeah, a long time. And for me to think about and to also be a part and witness the change in culture and commerce and everything because of technology, it's hard for me to get excited about not embracing it further. And it quickly as we're advancing it. So what I love about this product is it actually allows us to do that. It allows us to embrace the technology and run towards it at a faster speed. So I get really excited about that. So again, as a consumer, it's not a doomsday message. It's a very optimistic and positive message. And that's super exciting. And so I see shifting, even further and moving that direction, especially in the US, because I think the US, you're forced to take a side and say, it's really, really bad. Protect yourself, go live in a cave, or, you're going to have to just deal with it. And hopefully we all trust and nothing happens to us. Right. So
100%.
So I get really excited about that. So that's where I see, a big opportunity for other consumers to also identify with that embracing of technology, not that optimistic outlook on technology versus the doomsday version.
So when I speak to you've got a background of 20 plus years in technology. You leave that whole entire career to join a Canadian startup company. So how did you and Dimitri meet? And most importantly, what sold you on the idea of joining this company, knowing that this is a big risk on your behalf, right?
Yeah, I'm at a place in my career where there's definitely no shortage of opportunities because I'm, e-commerce and digital marketing
Yep.
and not only that, but omni-channel. So, working with the Walmarts and the Targets and the Costco's of the world
Yep.
and just understanding that full spectrum. However, there's a point where you want to feel really good about what you're doing. And when you can bring those two things together, something that you're really good at, but something that you're also like can make a difference and feel good about at the end of the day, that's a magical place to be. And I've worked with, done a lot of things where, I loved what I was doing, loved the problems I was trying to solve, but was I really making a difference? Not necessarily. This is a true opportunity to, I think, solve a complicated problem. And have a complicated conversation with people and provide them a solution that makes it less complicated.
Yeah.
And that was my point of like that positive, optimistic outlook on technology and 5G and Wi-Fi and in connecting all of our devices. Like that's a scary conversation for some, but it doesn't have to be. And so I really, really like that. And then those people that are maybe not having that conversation yet are more willing to have the conversation because you're not telling them they have to cut the cords on all these things. Well, cut the cords is the wrong word because it's all around us, but get away from all their devices and all their technology.
Right.
So I'm that consumer, and that really excited me to bring my skill set, my history, my background, understanding how to build brands, understand how to have real true breakthrough growth, and not just that incrementality, but real breakthrough growth. And with a strong product, I'll add one more thing. It's rare that I see a startup where I get to enter where there's essentially a moat already built around the product and the company. And, having a lot of experience in fashion and apparel, there really is not a moat. Your brand becomes your moat. And there's very little innovation. There's very little anything you're not trademark, you're not patenting anything for the most part. And so with this product and this company, there's nothing else like it. And there's nothing else that solves this problem in this way.
Yeah.
And that's a very great place to be.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask, like, it's great that you obviously have passion, but being a chief revenue officer from a capitalist standpoint, what do people love about this product and what is the growth opportunity in play, knowing the background of where this was designed? And as I said before, being the only publicly traded company globally right now within this industry.
So, the growth opportunity is the fact, for a lot of what I've covered is it's providing a solution that and I guess if you were to compare it, I guess let's say it this way. There's two conversations that need to be had. Number one, do you believe or do you have some concern that EMR, EMFs are a bad thing or potentially harmful?
Yep.
When you've had that conversation, you move to conversation two, which is, what am I going to do about it? What products are out there? What are the solutions? And we're kind of playing in both areas right now.
Yeah.
And so we talked a little bit about the international markets. Well, international markets, I don't have to have conversation number one. I quickly moved to conversation number two, which from a marketing perspective is a lot less expensive because I don't have to convince people there is a problem. They already know there's a problem. And now I got to show them we're the best solution. So that's one reason why we really like these international markets and moving quickly to find, which markets we're going to focus on first, quickly test and learn and keep replicating over and over. In the US, or let's say even in Canada and in other countries, we're still having that first conversation, which is, do we agree that these are potentially harmful? It doesn't mean you have to say 100% for sure that they are, but let's have a conversation to say these might be, right? That still happens. That's an expensive thing to do. We're doing it and we're going to continue to do. We're probably going to, even ramp up even further because there's an opportunity to be a real leader around that conversation, at least just aggregating everybody else's conversations. There's a tremendous opportunity there to just be a leader in that conversation. But we already have the best solution. So when I look across the globe, there's no reason why we can't cherry pick the markets that are moving on to conversation too. And that's where we need to play today and hit our big strides.
So are you finding right now, as far as the 400% growth year over year, like what are you seeing right now day-to-day trending wise? Are you seeing a lot of those numbers being achieved? And do you think that you're just getting started?
Yeah, when we look at, again, we're shipping from the US to many of these other countries, and we're exceeding that growth rate in our top 20 countries.
Wow.
And so, specifically, Australia and Germany and Sweden and the Netherlands. And like I could keep naming countries off,
Right.
but all of those are over 400% growth. And again, there's zero effort right now
Right.
because there's a lot to do to be able to get that message right. Well, we're not even trying to get the message right, and it's occurring. We're not even on their shore, and we're seeing that growth. Now, I don't want to like completely say the US is not a good market. I intend to be very heavily vested in the US market. And within the US market, there are pockets and communities where the same conversation is already occurring. And we will continue to uncover those and target those users, target those customers, and target those audiences. And we will continue to see that growth in the US as well. But there's no reason with this product. There's nothing holding us back from being a global brand today.
Yeah, well, I think we're all guilty here in North America that sometimes we live on this island and just think everything evolves, right? But
yeah,
it's when you have countries of that size and scale globally, and they're a lot more advanced, the opportunity is huge. So as we start to obviously start to build up more infrastructure and education, obviously it's something that has tremendous growth, to say the least. Last thing I wanted to ask you, one of the things that I've learned recently is that electromagnetic clothing is becoming a thing. Like, this is real. So much so that research organizations are starting to put out industry growth reports on this segment of the market. Wild, to say the least. So how effective would EMR protective clothing stack up against personal protection devices such as the one American Airs offers?
First off, I am excited about anybody else that wants to further the education of the consumer and take on that burden as well. And so I'm all for it. Number one.
Well said. You all said. Love the competition, right?
Yeah, I love it. There's a big market out there, and I eventually all roads, I believe, will lead to us. Because again, I think there is just not anything on the market, as we've discussed, that's comparable to the technology. And like I said, the moat that we've built around this. There's just nothing else like it.
Right.
And so I think all roads do lead that way. So I'm happy that these categories exist. I would say, again, as I mentioned, having spent a lot of years in fashion and apparel, I know how very difficult it is to become relevant, stay relevant when you have access to the best designers, the best fabrics, the most advanced, materials. It's so difficult to compete in the apparel market when you're not even layering in, EMR, conversations. So when you're taking, let's say, silver threads and weaving them into cotton, and then somebody wants to wear that every single day, I think it's a tricky thing. And, I would say we're approaching the problem from different angles. And I think Dimitri probably touched on this, but to build this type of clothing, you are putting in some sort of material that's blocking the radiation, which means that would then prevent your devices from working. So let's assuming these are super effective and you do have a device in your pocket, it technically wouldn't work if the apparel was actually working. And there's, I'm definitely not the best person to go into the details on that, but we are approaching it differently. And again, I kind of go back to what I said before, which is moving forward in a positive, optimistic manner with technology. Wearing your stylish, threads that you're wearing is, and again, letting the designers, compete. That's why I think that I just don't love the apparel side of it. And first of all, apparel just scares me in general. It's just a cutthroat industry. So good luck to them, but I'm excited that they're there and fighting the battle.
It's great. You're enjoying what you're doing, it appears.
Yeah.
What would you say? Last thing I'll say, the most common thing you hear over and over and over that gets people convinced about the product that you're selling, the mission statement, the sell. I don't want to call it a sell line, but the thing that you find gets people to say, I want one of these devices.
That's a really good question. I think number one, when I really, really, really can define that, you're going to see the marketing change a lot. So let me say it that way. And I think it's different I think it's a different message based upon individual users. And this is the way that I think about like the different personas. And like I said, if you go talk to a couple that's trying to conceive right now, and they've been trying to conceive and have a baby for 9 months, 10 months, 12 months, it's a different conversation than the guy that's wearing blue light blocking glasses. Right. And they're solving different problems,
Yeah.
but yet they're both open to having that discussion. And
Gotcha.
so as our marketing campaigns roll out, we will be speaking to those individual users and really get into a personal one-to-one level. And then that's when that conversation is, they're more willing to have that conversation.
Yeah.
I would say though, in the US, what's really interesting is just that it's a tricky market because there's just a general distrust overall. It's been a rough couple years, and there's just a general distrust and again, you could distrust both directions. And I think that's a trick that's one of the problems that we have when you go with a very general marketing message. And like I said, over the next 3, 6, 9 months, you will see this message delivered at a one-to-one level and really speaking to the needs of that particular customer and how EMR affects them and how our product actually solves a problem for them.
The power of data, targeting anyone, anywhere, with different messages at any time. It's the world we live in now, right?
Yep.
Listen, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy, but let's keep in touch, and big growth opportunities for you, to say the least.
Yeah. Thanks for the time.
All right. Thanks, Josh.